What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Run Pure Sports PGA Live Show. I'm your host, Travis Mangone, and I'm back with the two usual suspects. We got AP, we got Hoop. What we're going to do for you guys is we're going to break down all of these golfers. We're going to start from the top, go all the way to the bottom, talk about the course, so much more, and help you guys out with building your lineups here on a Tuesday night. Let's kick it off with you first, AP. How did your week go? Because my week wasn't the best. NASCAR helped save it. I had a little nice, good NASCAR hit, but it was a rough week for your boy in PGA this week.
Man, it was bad. I'm not going to try to, beat around the bush. It was a bad week for me. It was, I don't think I cashed a single thing. Showdowns were up and down as well. But hey, it's golf. We're going to rebound hard this week. We're going to get it right. We got a nice little course to attack.
Yep, I'm with you. Hoop, how about you? Hoop? How did you end up doing there with some of your lineups? The weekend was good for you when you're at the lake. I don't know if that, did well for you being away from the lake.
Well, it was, like I said on the podcast, it was one of those weekends where, you just go ahead and you close that laptop on Friday afternoon / evening and just hope that you get some money back. And closed the laptop. I hoped I got some money back, and it was a small amount. So it was not a good week for me. But, that's PGA DFS will bounce back this week. Really like this slate, like this field. I think we all have a pretty good read on it. So, hopefully the results are a little bit different than last week. Actually, they are going to be different. I'm feeling it. I think we're going to have a good week here.
Yeah, I feel pretty good about this week. I'm curious to see if our thoughts all line up or not. Let's kick it off with you first, AP, and talk about the course. Talk about some little nuggets for us to get the people going with and give them a breakdown of what they should be looking for.
Yeah, we're in our boy Hoop's backyard up in Detroit. We're at Detroit Golf Club this week. It's a Donald Ross design. It's a very fair and easy par 72 course. I think the yardage is right around 7,300 yards, and we got 4 par 5s, which is going to be huge. 3 of them for sure these guys can reach in 2, so par 5 scoring is going to be huge. But with Donald Ross courses, one thing to keep in mind is the greens are usually going to be quite a bit smaller, so that brings around the green play into play. It brings proximity into play. And if you just look at last year, Nate Lashley, he's actually a Nebraska boy from Scottsbluff. He's a proximity guy. That's like he just had it going. He knew exactly where to fire at in these pins, and he shot an amazing round. And it's going to be a birdie fest this week. So the stat I was looking at last year, we had 1,895 birdies all week.
Jeez.
It slaughtered it. It was only second to the TPC Twin Cities event, which was actually won by my boy Matty Wolf. So I mean, that guy can absolutely compete in birdie fests, and we'll see. I know Big T doesn't like Matt Wolf this week, but I love that correlation stat right there.
Big T doesn't like Matt Wolf because we like Matt Wolf. Let's get it straight.
Listen, you totally hate to see Big T getting known to start off the show. You hate to see it. But, I absolutely love hearing that with Matty Wolf. I think he's a really good upside tournament play. Definitely someone to consider. We'll get to him. We'll talk about your cheapies, AP, that you always like to discuss. And I think I'm on some of yours that you've discussed in the past. So excited to kind of see which guys you're liking as we get down in that range. But Hoop, we're in your backyard. I know you're not probably teeing it off for this event, but can you give us the weather report? We got boots on the ground over there with you. So what are we looking at?
Yeah, I mean, if I was teeing off, you definitely would not want to roster me in your DFS lineups. I can promise you that. I haven't golfed much this year, so any hope is dwindled away, unfortunately. In terms of the weather, it has not rained much. I can tell you that much. We had one little storm over the weekend, but it's supposed to be hot, so really hot. Doesn't look like much wind. So I mean, I'm guessing maybe things are dried out here. I know a lot of people are talking about the rough and them trying to grow it out a little bit. I just, unless they watered it a ton, I don't necessarily think it'll be overly thick. I mean, and the lawns are all dead around here. So I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, so hot, good conditions for a lot of these guys, obviously sunny. So we'll see.
All right, guys, if you could, before we dive in and talk about each of the golfers, if you could hit that like for us on the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet, and if you want to get the notifications, that'll help us out a ton. We're keeping this thing premium for you guys, so please, that like will help us out. Obviously, we have this free to everyone. We can get more of those, but we want to keep this thing premium for you guys, keep all the good stuff for you so we can take down all of the money this week. So let's dive in. Let's talk about the top range. And I could go on and on about Bryson and talk about how amazing he is. But AP, let's go to you first. We know how much I'm going to like him. And we'll talk about all the guys in the 10K range. We'll go from Bryson to Hovland because there's a lot of golfers that like him. If you play a guy like a Bryson or a Webb, it's not easy to get in a second 10K guy. So talk to me about this range and how you want to approach it.
Yeah, I think this range is interesting. And I think we could all talk about Bryson and it wouldn't be wasting anyone's time. I mean, he's the best player on the board. And I think we're going to have so many cheapies out there that we can target with how random this event could be. Because we have a lot of mid-tier guys that are priced way up that have, deserve not to be priced way up. So I just think, if you're like an average DFS guy, I mean, you could just lock in Bryson and feel really confident about it. I mean, he ranks number one in so many categories I'm looking at this week. So just a few to break them down. I want someone that's long off the tee, but I also want someone that's hitting good drives. I want someone that's accurate off the tee. And so I'm looking at a stat that has a combination of distance and accuracy. And, he's 5th overall. So, I mean, he's 1st overall in drive, or 2nd actually in driving distance. I might question that just a little bit because he absolutely smacks it. But, he's 5th overall when you combine the two. And so that tells me that, he's going to have a lot of opportunities out there. And it shows in opportunities gained as well, where he ranks number 1. And so I just think we could all easily talk about him as being the number 1 play, or we'd all agree that he is the number 1 play. But, my model up top, it's a tough range. It really is. And I actually broke it down 2 different ways. I looked at using similar metrics that I used last year, where I was focused on bombers, but I was also focused on guys that can score. And so, Victor Hovland is popping really high in that model, just a little bit behind Bryson, but he's getting a nice price increase. But I don't care. Hovland is, I mean, if you get Bryson and if you get Hovland into your lineup, you got guys that have eagle upside, and we have 4 par 5s to attack this week. So I want to load my build with guys like that. And so those are the 2 that really pop for me. Outside of those 2, I'm not super high on this range. I like Tyrell Hatton just because he's popping, but it's just because he's his recent form has been so good. I don't know if I can pay $10,700 for Tyrell Hatton. It just seems kind of crazy. So I'm not sure what I'm going to do with him.
Yeah, listen, I'm with you. Hatton's price feels expensive. When I was kind of looking at price tags before, 10.7 was not what I was thinking would happen, right? That jumped off the page. If I had to rank these guys at the top, I'd say my rankings right now are Bryson 1, I got Hovland 2, and then maybe Patrick Reed 3. I could see maybe putting Hideki in there over him, but I'm currently on Reed, I guess, as my guy. Let's go to you, Hoop. I think, Bryson's a staple for sure. Are any of these other guys tournament pivots? Are the guys that you're starting your lineups with in cash instead? How are you approaching this range?
So in my main lineups, I don't know exactly how many lineups I'm going to make this week, but definitely Bryson. Webb, I have interest in. I think he's going to be really low owned. I just think most people are just going straight up to Bryson. So I'm gonna try to get overweight on both. It might be tough with Webb, but I like a lot of guys down low, and we'll cover that when we get to that tier. So it might not be that difficult. I just can't pay the 10.7 for Hatton. He's been playing well, but can't do it. I am back off the Patrick Reed train. Like I said, 2 weeks ago, I was on him. He missed the cut. I just feel more comfortable not playing Patrick Reed, especially when he's 10.5. So I'll be off him. I will be on Hovland. I mean, just playing so well. And a lot of these guys have been playing well the last 3 weeks. I have a hard time getting away from because they've been playing well. The prices have come up on most of them, which will, deter ownership a little bit. But they get a much easier field here. Like Hovland, T23, T21, T11, and those were in elite fields. Like this is not a elite field. Yeah, we have some good golfers, don't get me wrong, but this is not the same field that we've seen the last 3 weeks. So I'll be back on Hovland. Matsuyama, I think, is a really good Millie Maker type play. I don't think his ownership will be very high. I think the ownership in this range will be soaked up by Bryson and Hovland. I don't think Matsuyama will have high ownership. I mean, that performance 2 weeks ago was, man, that was bad. We know he's a bad putter, but that was even worse than you could have even imagined. The prices come up. I'm not going to play him any of my main teams, but I'll get some exposure to him, try to get over the field in like a Millie Maker very large field tournament. So yeah.
All right. How about we just rank the guys in this range? I gave my ranking. Did you give yours, AP? Maybe I missed it while I was looking at some stats. But who's your top 3 guys, I guess, in this range if you had to pick?
Gotta say, for me, Bryson number 1, of course. Victor Hovland number 2, and I would say probably just from a price standpoint, I'm gonna go with Finau number 3, just because. And maybe he wasn't included in that range. I got him in my expensive tier, but that's where I'm at. So I would eliminate all the other ones.
All right, Hoop, how about you? How would you approach this above 10K range? Like, if you had to pick the 3, who are they?
I go Bryson, Hovland, and then Webb Simpson. I mean, like it is 11K for Webb, but that's, to me, Bryson's in a tier of his own, and then I think Webb's kind of in a tier of his own in this upper tier. And then it's the rest of the guys. So to me, yeah, Bryson, Hovland, and then Webb.
All righty, let's go to the next range. We'll do the 10K, below 10K to the 9K range. So we got Sungjae Im to Scotty Scheffler. And, Big T wants to make fun of us for liking Sungjae Im. I think he's a fine play this week, but he's not one of my favorites. And I'm not in love with this 9K range completely. If you force me to pick my favorite guy, I think it might be Scotty Scheffler, because I think this is a good course that lines up really well for him in scoring. So that might be my favorite guy. If you force me to pick a 9K guy as my number 1. Kick it off for us first, AP. Sounds like you like Finau in this range. He might be your favorite guy. Who are some other guys you like?
Yeah, this range is really interesting. I don't like a lot of these guys. I'm not like okay, so let me break it down. I mean, the problem with Sungjae Im right now is like he can't score. His approach is just a little bit off. And the problem with that this week at this Donald Ross course is, I mean, these greens, yeah, it's a birdie fest, and these guys are going to light this course up. But if he's just off a little bit, he's just going to get lapped by the field. And it's Sungjae Im. He could kick it back into gear, and he could be fine. He'll probably make the cut. He'll probably be right on the number, and Big T will be out there laughing at us, But I can't pay $9,800 for that this week, especially when I want, a Bryson and a Hovland up top. That's going to cut out a lot of this range for me. And so the only guy I like that's on my radar, and you could talk me into Scotty Scheffler. I don't know if I'm sold on it yet, but I'm literally crossing everyone off except Tony Finau.
All right, Hoop, how about you? Finau's a guy you typically love, but the price is up, right? This is 9.3K Finau, so curious to see where you're on him and some of these other guys in the 9K range.
Yeah, you know me. I'll always be on Finau, no matter what. I think since I started playing PGA DFS, Finau's probably my highest, cumulatively my highest owned guy. I'll be back on him this week. I just, he doesn't win very often, but just got to play him. Off him. I'm always off follow. You guys know that. I think Ricky's just a great fade. Again, the price is up there. He hasn't been good. He's not, even in this weak field, he still belongs much lower for me. Off probably off Scheffler. The other guy that kind of interests me in tournaments is Bubba, taking advantage of these par 5s and whatnot. I think he has some upside at this course, so I might have a little bit of Bubba. But the only guys I'm going to have substantial ownership on in this range is Finau. It's just kind of a dead range for me.
Yeah, like I said, I agree. It's not my favorite range. So I'm kind of with you guys on that. Like I said, I guess it's Scheffler, and then maybe Finau's my second favorite. Any interest in Kevin Na, his upside? It seems like his price is a bit too high. And on the ownership too, it seems like he might be getting some traction. Anyone have interest in Kevin Na? I didn't hear his name mentioned.
No, sir.
No,
to me, right. I mean, I don't know. You can get this.
No. I'm not going to pay
this
that
range. Yeah, you can get the same golfers for $1,500,
Bryson.
$2,000 cheaper.
Listen, I'm with you. I've heard people talk about betting him, like, there's upside on the betting card for him. So I'm just asking the question, right? I don't think this is a great range, and I think this is one that I'm going to stay away from. And I hope people, get ownership from in this range. I hope they do take some of these guys and take shots on them.
Like the only argument you could make for Kevin Na is he does have a good short game, and if you are weighting the around the green stat as more of a priority with the small greens, that could make sense. But for me, it's just probably I can't pay 9,100 for Kevin Na. He'll be 7K. He'll be in the 7K range when we get into a stack field. So.
Yep, agree on that. Let's talk about this 8K range. We'll go to 9 to 8K, and there's a lot of guys I think to really discuss here. Sabatini is one I have some interest in. I like Doc and Glover. I expect Doc and Glover to kind of get some ownership. But let's talk about this, 8K range. AP, kick it off for us. Who are your guys that you're really getting exposure to here?
I like Eric Van Rooyen. He's at the bottom of the 8K range, but this is like the range that I was talking about, where I feel like a lot of these guys are overpriced relative to where they usually are at. Now I get that it's a weak field, but you can't tell me that like a lot of these guys are leaps and mounds ahead of some of these guys that are in the 7K range and a little bit below. And so I think I'm going to take a pretty cautious approach in this range. I'm going to monitor ownership projections. Like I hear Doc Redman coming up a lot. And I'm like, so in my mind, I'm like, do I really want to pay $8,500 for a guy that, might get talked up heading into this tournament? Because I believe he played well here last year. He's coming in really good form. But like with a guy like this, he could go the other direction, really quickly. If you look at his strokes gained putting, he's lost strokes gained putting over his last 3 events. And so, I think these greens are pretty tough, and you're relying on him, maintaining the strokes he's gaining on approach. And if he doesn't maintain that rate, we're really going to see him fall backwards. So, for me, like I get it. He's great. He's rounding into form. He's a solid golfer. I just like on a Redmond, I don't know if I can pay that price. Jason Day is going to be a fade for me again. Poston, a little bit too expensive. Sabatini's fine. Like I don't mind him, but I'm not going to prioritize him into my builds. And so for me, like I go all the way down, and one of the guys that I've starred is Eric Van Rooyen. I just think that he's I like his game overall for this course. I think he's going to be able to score fine, and he might go a little bit underlooked. I haven't looked at ownership projections, but it's just another range that I'm probably going to be a little bit underweight on.
Yeah, I like the EVR call, man. He's a guy in tournaments I'm definitely looking to maybe get some exposure to. I think he has a ton of upside. So I like that call from you, AP. Hoop, you gave us Glover last week, right? You liked him at the price. You thought that, we can ride out the guy in the, I think he was below 7K, right? Third best in birdies. I'm sure he's still up there, especially with this field. Can we pay 8.4K for Lucas Glover? Can we pay for Doc Redman? Those are guys I think are going to be chalky, and we got to figure out what to do with them.
Of course, he had to rub it in my face, like the only thing I got right last week, and of course, didn't pay off because all the other crappy calls. Yeah, I'm going back to him this week. I talked about it earlier. The guys that have been playing well the last 3 weeks in these stronger fields, that now get opportunity to compete against a weaker field, and Glover fits right in there. He's just been golfing phenomenally well. Has the upside to can get these birdies. 23rd, 21st, 20th. Like, I don't care that he's 8.4K. He's playing better than just about anyone right now. I'll gladly be on Glover again this week. Just to jump to the upper tier, going to be off most of these guys. I get the argument for Sabatini, but I think he's safe to probably make the cut. But like at that price tag, like kind of needs more. So I'll most likely be off him, not playing Poston at 8. Like a lot of these guys in this upper tier, I can get the same golfer for $1,500, $2,000 less. Like Jason Day sucks. Like I don't anticipate being on him at all in the near future. Doc Redman's an interesting one. So, is he going to be popular? I don't know. I think he's the hardest one to gauge the ownership on because, we're not used to seeing Doc Redman at 8.5K. Doc Redman's typically a guy that's in the high 6s or low 7s. Now he's 8.5K. He's been golfing phenomenally well. So good recently. Last 2 events, 21st and 11th. Irons just on absolute fire. Very solid odds, Vegas odds to win this event. But it's still Doc Redman. Are people going to be comfortable going there? Like, I don't think he's going to be over the top popular. I mean, I'll definitely be playing him, but he's interesting if you're game theory person. Bezenhout, I'll be on him at 8-3. I like him a little bit. I like RCB. Van Ruin I'm on. I like Van Ruin. So yeah, we're my plan for the most part is to stay away from that 9K range, stay away from the upper eights, and I'll be hitting these guys in the lower 8 range. Adam Hamlin I don't have a ton of interest in. I mean, another guy kind of like Sabatini to me. Yeah, he's probably going to make the cut. If he finishes 40th or 50th, is that going to be enough? Probably not. So I won't be playing him. Someone had mentioned about Kitayama in the chat. Won't be super high owned on DraftKings. Like they put a fair price. I mean, he's like 50 to 1 to win the tournament. So he's about the same odds as the other guys in this range. Now, if you're playing on FanDuel, it's a whole nother story. He's 7.7K. Like he's a full punt play, and he's 50 to 1 to win the tournament. He's going to be very popular there, and definitely a strong play on FanDuel. So, like I said, I'll be living more in this lower 8K range. Have interest in all the guys I mentioned. Not so much Hadwin. I'll probably, maybe a little bit of Hadwin, but as it stands now, I'll probably be fading him.
Yeah, I'm with you. One thing I did want to mention about Doc and Glover, I mean, I kind of pulled up their last, the last 3 months, the last 12 rounds, just so I made sure I got since the pandemic data. And I was just curious to see some stats on some of the guys, in this tournament. Redmond is 3rd in tee to green in this field. Glover is 4th. 2 guys who I expect to get a ton of ownership and could, be really good plays. And the one thing to mention about Doc Redmond is he's 22, right? We kind of expected him to be a good golfer. I get not wanting to pay this price tag, but he is a guy that I project to be someone that, isn't just going to be a lifetime 6.8K golfer. So, again, I don't want to pay this price as much at 8.5, but I'm kind of interested, curious what the ownership ends up doing there. How about we rank these guys in this range? Then we'll head over to the next one. Give me your top 3 guys in this range, JP.
Yeah, I had to pull it up. I pulled up two different ownership projections that I use. And, one's right at 17% and the other is at 20%.
For Redmond?
Redmond, yeah.
Okay, yeah. See, that's fine then. Like that's not a crazy high number.
I mean, I think it's high. I don't want to pay $8,500 for. I mean, I don't know. Like yeah, he's a skilled golfer, but the guys he tends to struggle around the green and on the green. And if you look at these greens, they're small. Like he's lost strokes around the green in almost every single tournament that he's done over his last 30. Like there's only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 tournaments out of 30 he's gained strokes around the green. And putting, it's like 60% he's lost in his last 30 events. He's lost strokes putting in 60% of those. So I mean, I don't know. Like I get it. He's solid. He's a good golfer. He's playing really well. For me, I'll probably fade him. It could hurt me, but he just seems expensive. And, here's like how I'm thinking about it. Like if I'm locking in Bryson, if I'm locking in Hovland, like, I don't know, it's not going to leave me a ton of room down there. So I'm going to have to be very careful with who I pick and choose in that range. And so I'm just more happy kind of eliminating guys in that range. So for me, I'm ranking it in this range, Eric Van Rooyen, number 1, and that's it.
How about you? What's your rankings on the top 3?
Gotta go back to my boy Glover. Like he's definitely number 1. I'm gonna go Glover, Doc, and then EVR, who I like quite a bit. EVR is a guy that I think you said it, Mangone. Like he has upside. Like he's showing he can compete and get to the top of leaderboards. And that's what I want out of all these guys because as we saw last year, that leaderboard was not very impressive. So a lot of these guys down here, there's going to be some names at the top of the leaderboard. You're going to be like, how the hell did they get up here? So, EVR could be one of those guys, and I like him at 8K this week.
Yep, certainly. I actually just pulled up Doc's last 4 rounds at the Rocket Mortgage, so I got his stats. He was gained strokes everywhere. It actually was 2.2 around the green, and that was for around the green. And then putting, he gained 4.7. So yeah, he didn't do too bad the last time. I just figured I'd pull him up while AP was talking. So wasn't negative in any area, and he did pretty well last time. Again, I don't want to overrate the recent form in the course history, but it definitely lines up. I'm curious to see where his ownership goes. I got Doc as number 1 here, Glover 2. It's like more of like a 1A, 1B, like whichever one plugs in. I'm not really picky, right? If you land on Glover at 8,400, I'm not like dying to find that $100 to get up to Doc Redman, if that makes sense. Or if you think that you need that $100 to get up to another guy, I think it's perfectly fine. I got them really 1A, 1B. And then I got EVR number 3. So that's kind of where I have them rated right now. Let's go to that next range, and I think we're going to have a lot of talk here about these guys. Basically anything below this 8K. Once we get to the 6K, I'm sure we'll talk about a ton of guys too, but this 7K range is loaded with a bunch of different plays. AP, kick it off for us here. Let's break it into a $500. So from the 8K, the 7.9 to the 7.5K range, what are you doing here?
Yeah. So I'm kind of going back and forth too, like in this range. So like HV3, Harold Varner was really popping. But I feel like he's going to be a guy that I don't see how he's not owned this week. I haven't looked. I could pull it up real quick. It looks like he's going to be in that 15 to 20% range. I mean, that's not bad. It's not hard to get overweight on a guy like that, but I just I don't know. I go back and forth with him because there's things about his game that he tends to struggle with. And so for me, when I look at ownership projections and, I kind of apply my own way to it. Like, I think he's going to be higher than what the projections are at just because he looks so good in these models. And I've ran it a few different ways. And so like in one of my models, he ranks 3rd overall. And that's kind of looking at recent form type of stuff. So I know he's going to pop in other people's models. And what I'm looking at there is he's been excellent in the opportunities gained category. So he's been excellent in scoring. He's been excellent in converting those opportunities. And he's been solid driving the ball. He just, his putter has failed him at times. And so he's a guy I like. I don't know if I'm going to go crazy on him, but I definitely like him in this range. Brendan Todd is kind of the interesting one. Like, I don't like the guy. He just absolutely melted down last week. And it was that one hole, like he just, his game went out the door. But I don't he's been around for a long time. I don't think that's going to affect him. And he's been so solid driving the ball. I don't like paying $7,800 for him. I think he might be fine in that range, but I feel like he's really safe, and I can definitely see him carrying some of that momentum that we saw last week into this course, where he's going to need to hit fairways. I think it was until Sunday he had only missed 1 fairway, and then he missed 2 or 3 on Sunday, and so that's a guy I like in this range. Otherwise, the upper tier of this range, I'm not like super high on. For me, Harold Varner, Brendan Todd, and I'm kind of looking at Maverick McNeely. I again feel like it's just a little bit too expensive for him, but I think he's just one of those guys that will make the cut and could be up there towards the end. Like, I like him at a top 20 finish potentially. I don't see him being like a top 10 type guy.
All right, Hoop, some interesting names there. Are there any guys you're also interested in, or any other different guys?
We're just going the upper 7s?
Yeah, we'll say like the 7.5 to 7.9.
Yeah, so Brian Harman I like quite a bit. I mean, just a frustrating round 2 last week. I mean, so many short missed putts, and a guy that's typically a good putter, really disappointed last week. But, I mean, he makes half those putts, he gets through the cut. So I'll be going back to him. I think he's just a much better golfer than the guys in this range. Snedeker's a guy that's interesting. Really good odds to win. He's up there like 45, 50 range. The price is low, and he finished 5th here last year, so he has a little bit of experience on the course. I'll be looking at him. Kisner, man, he's been bad. Like, definitely not playing Kisner. McNeely, I agree, just a little bit too expensive. Like, I like McNeely, but even in this field, I think that's just like a little bit too much. Like 7-6, I'll be off him. Varner's a guy I really like. I'm not too concerned with the ownership. When I talked about EVR getting up to the top of leaderboards, I want someone that can compete. Like Varner has proven that he can compete and get to the top of the leaderboard. The problem with him is he tends to kind of crap his pants when he's paired with these big name guys. You don't have to worry about that this week, most likely, because there's not many big name guys. So I like Varner at 7-6. And that's about it. I mean, I'll be fading other guys. So Snedeker, Harmon, and Varner. That's about it for me. And Stallings, he's rated at 7.5. If we're going 7.5, I like Stallings.
Yeah, I was actually going to say Stallings. I love Stallings in this spot. He's been really good, and he's on the get beefed up like Bryson kick. He's a guy who gotten a little bigger, and he's been crushing the ball. So I'm in on Stallings. I think he's pretty good at that price at 7.5. He might be my favorite guy in this range. Snedeker has some bad recent form, but he does pretty well on these type of courses. I forget what the name is of the course, but
Donald Ross.
Yeah, the Donald Ross. He's typically a good Donald Ross guy, right? So if you want to play that angle, that's what he has going for him. But recently he hasn't been as good if you look at his last, 36 rounds or 24, whatever. Doesn't have the greatest numbers. And Harmon's a guy that I'm torn on what to do with. I think he's a solid play, but again, I don't know. I think there's other guys I can get maybe that are a little bit lower here and take a shot on. Let's go over to this next range of guys, this below 7.5K range. So below 7.5 to 7K. Anyone get you excited here? Is there anyone that you think has enough upside? AP, kick it off for us.
Yeah, I like this range quite a bit. I want to start with Patrick Rogers. He's coming off 2 cuts. But what pops for me is the guy knows how to score. Like he ranks pretty good on opportunities gained. But one thing that was really like that I really like is he ranks 13th in this field in driving distance, and he's 16th overall off the tee. So he's going to put himself in position to attack these par fives. And the best stat that I like is his putting. He ranks 8th overall putting, and so if he can get off the tee, if he can factor in his distance, get onto the green, and then add in some good putting, I think he's a guy at 7,400. Maybe he might go a little bit under owned. I haven't looked at his ownership. I could look real quick. He right around 5 to 7%. He's a perfect tournament play to target that has top 10 equity here. And when you're looking at that leaderboard, I always try to think, and this, like, I feel like on Sunday we're going to look at that leaderboard and we're going to think what the hell. And I think that's a name that we could definitely see up there. Another guy I really like in this range, there's a few, but definitely my second favorite is Kyle Stanley. He's just always really solid off the tee. He ranks 9th overall when you consider good driving. So when you're taking driving distance and accuracy, and not necessarily distance, but what we're waiting there is the accuracy. And he's his proximity on approach is also solid, and his form is ticking up. I mean, he's coming off a tie 24 finish. Prior to that, he did have a couple cuts, but he's a momentum guy. I feel like he's going to take this momentum that he got from last week, and he's going to parlay that. And honestly, I think we see a good finish out of Kyle Stanley this week.
Yep, don't mind that. I think that makes a ton of sense. You didn't mention your boy Munoz, did you? Did I miss that one, AP?
He's that. He's that other guy I like for sure. I mean, the thing about Munoz that I like is the opportunities gained. The guy knows how to score, like he really does. He's not a good putter though. He ranks 108th in the field putting here, and I do think putting is going to be important. But he's definitely going to have the opportunity. He's going to. His approach game has been solid. We just need him to make those 10-footers. And gosh, it could be so frustrating when you get a guy like that who has 10-footer after 10-footer after 10-footer, and he keeps missing them. But if Munoz, if he can see a couple go down, he's going to have a good week for sure.
I think that makes sense. Hoop, how about you? What are you doing with this range?
Yeah, definitely an interesting range. The guy that's interesting to me, and I don't know if I'm playing him or not, I just think he's interesting in terms of ownership and all that, is Will Gordon. Curious to see what people do with him after that good run last week, finished, tied for third. 7.3K for a guy that I don't think many people heard of prior to last week. It's a steep price tag. I'm just curious how many people will go back to him. Maybe one of you guys can touch on that, what you project his ownership to be when I'm done. Mark Hubbard's a guy I have interest in, 7-2. Should get a little bit of ownership down here, but just playing solid golf. T43, T33, T37, 3 consecutive made cuts, much weaker field, kind of fitting that narrative that I discussed earlier. I'm on the Kyle Stanley train. I mean, a guy that has shown upside throughout his career. And the hope is, he kind of found something last week and builds off of it this week. So I'll be on him. Have a little bit of interest in Gooch. He was making a lot of cuts early on. However, he has found himself cut the last 2 weeks. Maybe he bounces back here. I don't mind him in tournaments. Also, where's our other guy? Tyler Duncan. Just been playing well, very steady the last few weeks. I think he is in play as well. But what's your take on Will Gordon? What do you think? Is he going to be a popular play down here or what?
He's getting ownership from what I see, but I don't know. I guess he is one of those guys that is supposed to project to be a good golfer, right? But I don't care about ownership that much as long as, like I said, I'm intentional with my lineup, right? One thing that we mentioned with those other guys that have ownership, earlier, if you play a Bryson, let's say you played Bryson, Doc, Glover, and Varner, right? Those 4 guys, all pretty good plays overall. Well, I'm going to be stuck with some of these 6K guys. As long as I don't take one of the dudes that's going to get a ton of ownership and make a nice pivot, I'm okay with it. Not saying you have the best guys that make pivots within that range, but I'm not too worried about Will Gordon's ownership at 10%. Do you think that's something to worry about at all, Hoop? Or is there a 2% guy you think that's better?
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm always fine with that. Just, my main thing is I always try to get over the field on basically anyone that I'm going to be playing. I think that's a solid strategy for tournaments. So, if he's going to be 10, am I going to feel comfortable getting up to 18 to 20% Will Gordon? Probably not. So I'd fade in that case.
Okay, let's rank this range of golfers then. What would you do, AP? You liked a lot of these guys in this range, so narrow it down to 3 is going to be tough. So who are your top 3?
Just one other comment. I mean, he looked so good last week, and the dude absolutely bombs the ball. I mean, driving distance wise, if you think of these par 4s, he ranks 7th in this field, and he was not terrible at all off the tee. I mean, overall in this field, he ranks 17 off the tee, and so he just has to put it together. But he definitely looked good, and there's definitely some decisions to be made there. But for me, in this range, if I had to rank it, I would rank it a few different ways. My favorite tournament play is going to be Patrick Rodgers. I think my favorite safe-ish type of play is Kyle Stanley. And then I'm right between Sebastian Munoz and Tyler Duncan. I think Tyler Duncan's another really safe play. I just think, one of these days he's going to get back onto his we're going to see consecutive cuts in a row. And so he's been playing really well, though. I think he just mainly his 4th on Sundays, he kind of falls back. And so we'll see, though. I like Kyle Stanley. I like Patrick Rodgers.
All right, Hoop, how about you? Give me your top 3 in this range.
Stanley, Hubbard, and Mr. Duncan.
All right, yeah, mine would probably be Duncan, Stanley. I'd put Duncan 1, Stanley 2, and as my 3rd guy, like I said, I don't love this range as much. I might take a shot on a Siwoo Kim. You guys made fun of my Louis Oosthuizen last week, and obviously he didn't have an amazing week, but there's upside there with a guy like Siwoo Kim at that price, right? So I might take a shot on that. Not sure if I definitely will, but I think that's an interesting tournament play. It depends on what his ownership's going to be. But let's move on to this below 7K range and discuss these guys. And AP, we'll kick it off with you first. A ton of different guys I like in this range. How about you just start with Matty Wolff? I know you want to talk about him. So the floor is yours. We'll just sit back.
The guy on his final par 4, the guy drove the green and just didn't convert. I guess he drove it to the fringe. It didn't convert. He needed a birdie, I believe, to make the cut. No, he needed a 2 to make the cut. And so he missed that chip, but he had so many opportunities. He's not necessarily popping in my model, but he's 5th overall in driving distance. This guy absolutely smacks the ball. His off the tee game has been really good. he just needs to clean up a few things. Like he hasn't been great with his putter. He's been missing about 10 footers, but he's a guy like he can just absolutely turn it on when he needs to. Like he came into his win last year off a few like missed cuts. I think he had another bad finish, and then he won. And he won on a course like this one where it was a birdie fest. I know he won with a score of like minus 21 or minus 22. And so I'm definitely going to be overweight on him this week. I haven't even looked at what his ownership projections are. Probably not very high, right around 5%. So I'll definitely be way overweight. I'll probably have 50% of them. And all my Millie Maker builds. I've been thinking about just pressing the lock button as well. I don't know if I'm going to do that, but I just feel like this guy, factor in the weak course. He's already won the PGA Tour event. He's going to win again. And so I want to attack him in these spots where the field's going to be way underweight on him. Outside of him in this range, like I feel like there's a ton of plays, and I feel like it's going to be kind of spreading it around and mixing it. You know, I know Hoopster's going to be on a few of these guys, like Sam Burns. I'll let him touch on that. I mean, he's popping in my model. Wesley Bryan's another guy I like at 6,500. Like Wesley Bryan, if you think about his price, I mean, when I look at this, like, I don't know, like, I don't think like a Kyle Stanley or a Tyler Duncan, two guys that I like, should be, you know, 500, 600, 700 more expensive than Wesley Bryan, who's starting to play much better. And so I think this range is going to be really interesting and one to attack. I know for certain that the guy I'm going to be extremely overweight on is Matty Wolff.
All right, Hoop. Talk to me about this low, 6K range. A bunch of different guys to talk about. Matty Wolff's been talked about enough. So who do you got to go to?
Yeah, just to touch on Wolff a little bit. I didn't end up playing him last week. Really wouldn't have mattered for my results, obviously, because it was a full-on disaster. But he missed the cut by one stroke. So he's right on the number, missed it. If he makes that cut, last weekend and plays, like he's not going to be 6.8K this week. He's probably in that mid-7 range. So the fact that he did end up missing that cut on the number provides us a little bit of a discount. And he's 6.8K. He is much better than everyone else in this range in terms of just overall skill set. So I'll be on Wolff. I'll be definitely overweight compared to the field on Wolff. I love him as a play here at 6.8K. And, he is my favorite down here as well. So we'll, I'm joining the bandwagon with AP this week. Sam Burns, I got to mention for Big T. Big T's favorite guy, I think, is Sam Burns. And he is 6.9K. Coming off a T20. T20. How many guys finished T24 last week? Because every single guy I pull up that I like finished T24. What was the score? T24 was, what did those guys shoot? 11 under. Sam Burns is another one. So, we like him at 6.9K. Big T really likes him. I like him. I don't really like him. Harry Higgs, I like 6.8K guy early on in the year. In some of those weaker field events that was competing and contending, had some nice finishes. Early on, he had a 9th place at the Farmers, a 25th at the Waste Management, 18th at the Pebble Beach Pro-Am. So in some of these weaker fields, he's showing he can compete. Aaron Wise is a guy I'll have some exposure to, and his play has been all over the map lately, but made the cut last week, finished 45th. I think he had some success here last year. Don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure he played, and maybe someone can look that up as I'm talking here.
I can grab it. I have it right here. Aaron Wise got, as long as this loads in time.
Oh, he got 35th last year. So he played here last year, made the cut, tied for 35th. So I'll have a little bit of him. Not a guy I'm looking to get way overweight on. Wyndham Clark, he can score, and you want guys that can score and make birdies. The recent results have not been great for him, but he's a guy I'm going to look at a little bit here in tournaments, mostly deeper field stuff. Not a guy I'm going to have on any of my main teams. One guy I will have on one of my main teams is Wesley Bryan. I think just too cheap. I mean, back-to-back made cuts, T24th again. Like there must have been a million guys finished T24th last week. But his irons were great last week. He's another guy that can get things going and get the ball rolling in the cup. So I will have some of him as well. It's a range that, the way I'm building my teams, I'm going to have to be living in. So I'm going to play all these guys quite a bit and, hope they make the cut and make a move on the weekend.
Yeah, I agree with the Wesley Bryan take. I think that makes sense. So I build, myself a model, see what pops, look at different things. And I haven't probably ironed it out completely, but in my first run, in the one that I felt most comfortable with, the two guys that popped out to me, and AP, I'm surprised. I don't know if you mentioned him and I just missed you saying, was Chesson Hadley. I mean, this is just like the course that you touted him on with the smaller greens. I mean, Chesson Hadley, I think he rates out really well here. Good guide, obviously, on approach. I think this could make a lot of sense here for him. T-degree green game has been really good. And Cameron Tringali, he's another guy that's been pretty interesting as well that grades out. And Cameron Davis was one more. I don't know, a ton about him. He's not a guy I roster a ton. Probably need to dig on him more, and I've heard some people tout him up, so I'm going to look deeper in on him. But those are, I'd say Hadley and Tringali are two of the guys I've really been looking at that I like a ton. AP, what's your take on Chesson Hadley for me? I want to ask you about that. My bad.
Yeah, I think he's a solid play. I just he hasn't been scoring like we need him to, and I see him as a guy who can compete on a harder course. I think it was the RBC Heritage was definitely a harder course, tougher field. This course is going to be a lot easier, and I feel he's like a grinder type. He's not a good putter, but his iron play is absolutely on point. I'm gonna have exposure to him. I'll probably be over the weight the field, but I think he's just safer. And if he can get us a top 10, you're gonna want him in your lineup for sure. So I like that call for sure. I like the Matty Wolf and his upside a little bit more.
All right,
I guess. Let me one other play, just because I forgot I had to bring it up because Coop mentioned it the other day on the First Look podcast was the GOAT Bronson Burgoon. He's 6,200. So here's what I'm envisioning. If I'm building a lineup with Victor Hovland and Bryson and maybe a Tony Finau, Bronson Burgoon at 6,200 is a way that could really open that up. Now, the guy can score, but what he's best at is par fives. So he ranks 33rd in this field in par five scoring. He's good off the tee. He ranks 34th in this field, and he's been a very good, decent putter in this range, a pretty solid putter. But I'll just have sprinkles of him. I'm not going crazy or anything like that. He definitely could miss the cut this week as well.
Yeah, it is funny you mentioned him because he's a guy when I was trying to make one of those builds that you talked about, I was like, you could dip down to him and he could be kind of interesting when I was looking at some stats. So also, I think we talked about Wyndham Clark a little bit, but yeah, I think his upside's pretty good. Wanted to make sure he is mentioned here. AP, I guess give us your top three then. Matty Wolf's one, right? So give us your 2 and 3, and then we'll head over to Hoop for this range.
Yeah, Matty Wolf definitely won. I think it really gets tougher to rank it for me right now in this range. Sam Burns, I think would have to be 2. I just think he's a guy that deserves to be. If you just look at what he's been doing, coming off a tied 24 finish, and if you just look at every in one of the models I created, he ranks 4th, and he's 6,900. And this model is designed to find the guys who pop in driving distance, overall driving, and scoring, and par 5 scoring. And so he's absolutely popping in all of those categories. And he's a good putter. He ranks 24th in this field. So I think he's easily the number 2 guy in this range for me. And then the third, it gets tough. There's guys like Sepp Straka that's popping. You got any of these guys that can get their putter rolling, I'm gonna have exposure to. So I would group them all into that third category. Wyndham Clark, he's a monster off the tee. He ranks 2nd overall in par 5 scoring, and his putter has been good except for last week. It was not so good. But if he can keep his ball in play, he can definitely go low at a place like this.
Yeah, I think on the broadcast I saw them say that Wyndham Clark is the only guy that last year I think it was him and maybe one other guy, I forget, but to go top 5 or top 10 in like driving distance and putting. So yeah, obviously talk about the putting and the distance being long is going to be important. So Hoop, let's go to you. Who are your 3 favorite guys in this below 7K range?
I'm gonna go Wolf, Brian, and gotta go with my boy, Mr. Harry Higgs. I like Higgs.
Yep, Higgs definitely makes some sense. I've seen him, pop a little bit, so that makes sense. I got Hadley 1. I got probably Tringali 2, and then I'll go to I'm blanking on who the guy was I had at 3. I don't know why I'm blanking on him right now. But let's go with I like Brian too. I'll go with him. It's definitely not the safest thing in the world because not saying he's chalk, but he's one of the higher owned guys maybe in that range. Oh, it was Wyndham Clark. Let's go with him. Wyndham Clark. We're just talking about him. So let's go with him as the 3rd guy for me. Any questions for you guys? Throw them in the chat. We got some there. Before we get to the questions, someone's asking a FanDuel question, so maybe you can answer this while talking about FanDuel a bit because I'm sure you've looked at that a ton. Who are the top 2 values for FanDuel GPP and talk about FanDuel a little bit for the people so we can kind of give them a breakdown of that.
Yeah, it's honestly pretty similar in terms of, the prices. There's, I think, a couple, definitely one that stands out, Kitayama, coming in at 7.7. Like, he's going to be popular, but just like, that's just a mispriced guy right there. I like Harold Varner over there. He's low 9s, I think 9.3. So I think those would be my 2 favorite values over on FanDuel.
All right. We're talking about, let's see, Uline is one of Maddie's boys this week. Any love for Gordon this week? We talked about Gordon a little bit. Any different kind of questions? Or if not, listen, we ended a little earlier, but that's okay. We can just get on out of here a little early. Just want to mention, guys, before we kind of go through these last guys, please hit the like button for us, hit the subscribe. We'd appreciate it. And don't miss out on Big T and JSU. They'll be doing a Millie Maker GVP type of strategy show tomorrow. I believe it was at 8 o'clock last week. I don't know if it'll for sure be at 8, but sometime at night, 8, 9 o'clock, one of those times, we'll definitely push a tweet out about that. So stay tuned for that. We got the playbook coming out, core plays, tiers. We got tons of awesome stuff. Let's pick our winners, though. AP, kick it off for us first. Who do you got winning this thing? You going with the long shot, Matty Wolf here?
So the guy I am picking, he came off. He actually, technically, he was an RDF or whatever that was. Missed the cut, didn't make the day 4 at the Travelers last year, where he debuted at, and he followed it up at the 3M Open. Actually, no, missed the cut. So missed the cut here, followed it up at the 3M Open, and he got the win. That's Matty Wolf. This year, he's going to follow up the Travelers. He's going to go into Detroit, and he's going to get that win. We can't pick Bryson, right? I would pick Bryson. I mean, it's no fun to do that.
No,
listen.
Bryson's not allowed.
Listen, so if you're creating like a betting card this week, right? Like if you're going through and doing that, like just playing the guys at the top, I don't think is the move. I think this is the type of card to take some long shots. So that's just my personal opinion on it. Kick it off for us, Hoop. Who's your winner? Who are you going to give us here?
Yeah, it's definitely can't go Bryson. Obviously, I think Bryson does well here. Good chance to win. I'm gonna go, man. I'm going with my boy, Mr. Glover. Like he's treated me well. I'm hopping on the train. I think he contends here. So give me Glover.
Yeah, I think Glover is a good call there. I like that one. I'm going to go with a guy we've talked about a little bit. I don't know what his odds are exactly, but I know they're probably in the same range as Glover, maybe a little worse. Give me EVR, Eric Van Rooyen. I just think the upside he has. Of course, like the miscut can be really ugly from him. I totally get that, but I think his upside is just really, really good. And you can argue, right, he should be in the 7.5 range or whatever, but I kind of like that his price is where it's at. Maybe, we get less ownership than the type of talent golfer that he is, because I think his upside is pretty crazy there at that price. So, give me EVR in this field. One last thing. Let's do the 3 overweight and 3 underweight guys. I forgot to mention that one. So, AP, who are 3 guys you're going to be overweight on and 3 you're going to be underweight on this week?
Forgot about that as well. I mean, so for me, I'm going to be overweight Bryson. I'm going to be overweight Matty Wolf. And I'm going to be overweight Hovland again, most likely. But I will want to say, like, I feel like we're going to see a mix of, we're going to see a few shorter hitters up there, some accuracy type guys. And so when I'm building and doing my multi-entry strategy, I want to make sure that I'm not just only loading up on these bombers. I want to mix in some shorter hitters that, maybe the putter gets going. The Brendan Todds of last week. That's what I'm trying to find right now.
All right, Hoop, who are going to be your overweight guys?
Overweight on definitely on Glover. I'm going to be overweight on EVR. I like him. I actually almost picked him to win. It was either him or Glover, so good thing I went with Glover because you would have been scrambling there.
And I would have scrambled the Glover, Hoop, just so you
know. There you
That's
go.
exactly what I went to.
And then Kyle Stanley I like quite a bit, so I'll be over on him. The guys will be under on. I think like Scheffler's going to get some traction. I'll most likely be under or complete fade on him. Definitely going to be under on, I guess, all the guys at the top, like under on Hatton, under on Reed, under on Fowler. Like I'm just not playing those guys, so there's a few more for you.
Yeah, one of mine is Fowler for underweight, no doubt. Definitely going to be underweight on him. Let's see who else. Trying to look at some of these guys in this other range that are lower, see if there's any chalky options. Yeah, probably let me go a little higher up here. I'd probably be underweight on Kevin Na. I don't think he's a guy that I'm just going to be like jamming into my pool for any reason. He seems like a guy that missed the cut for me. And then probably this the guy that JSU likes, that Boozin, whatever, dude. I don't think I'm going to go to him. Maybe unless JSU can talk me out on that show. But if he gains traction, he's not a guy I typically want to go to. Like I said, a lot of these 8K guys, I'm kind of eating the chalk more so in the 8K range. I would say I'm going to be overweight on EVR. Like him a lot. Like I said, I think his upside is really, really strong. Chesson Hadley, another guy I'm definitely going to be overweight on in that 6K range. And listen, I got to say, Bryson DeChambeau, I'll be overweight for sure. I'm not messing around with that. He's a guy that I think last 6 tournaments, he's had top 10s. Like, what are you doing? Just make sure you're at least, if you don't want to play him, make sure at least like even with the field so he doesn't burn you, right? That's at least my opinion. Don't full fade him. You're at least a crazy person, I think, if you do that. But listen, we got to get on out of here, guys. Thanks a lot for joining us on the show. We got to get it out of here, guys. For me, Travis Mangone, Hoop, and AP, we'll see you later.